Hello boys and girls, we're trying a slightly new setup today just to try and reduce the glare from the last time. Um, got only a few things today. Well, this is just a super quick one because it was just in a normal, package or whatever. But yeah, it's 8 Mile, just the disc only, because I'm going to be getting custom artwork from the same person that sent me the custom artwork from before. So this package here is from Niagara Falls, New York. And as don't forget, we have to have our trusty cuticle clippers. A little correction from last video as I was watching it back. The main character in Candyman is a graduate student, not a journalist, so my apologies to everyone that probably wasn't listening who might have caught that. Oh yeah. Okay, so this was something that I got off of the Canadian Amazon store, and it was something that I wish I would have jumped on when it was brand new, because it wouldn't have cost as much. But it's the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, this special version that has the record in it and everything. There we go. But yeah, this is, I thought it would be because I got it off the Canadian Amazon store, but it doesn't have the French on it or anything, so it looks like it's the American one. Well, actually, never mind. No, it does have French on the back there. If you look closely, you can see it. Obviously, it's a little hard on the small screen there, but yeah, it actually does, but that's alright. It doesn't matter. So yeah, it's right there and right there. But anyway, so this is the one. Because I got it off of the Canadian Amazon store, it was less expensive than if I'd have tried to find it on the regular Amazon store, because I guess that there were a limited amount of these in whatever region you're talking about. And yeah, there's a limited amount of these, and also the one that I got off of the Canadian Amazon store, it was, well, less expensive, but it wasn't super cheap either, so it was kind of in between. But at any rate, it was something that I wanted to get. I wish I would have jumped on it sooner, but I've made up for it in this respect. So let's open her up and see what she's got in it. Did you guys like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? I remember, this is another one I want to see again, because I remembered feeling very kind of ambivalent about it, like because I knew people that absolutely loved it, I knew people that didn't like it, and I could sympathize with both sides, because the things that, here's the total fold out thing, I was like, the things I liked about it were also the things I didn't like about it, and it just kind of depended on which perspective you took with it. Like, basically, this is a short review, which is that, if you're on board with Tarantino's vision, if you're in his camp of, this kind of fairy tale love letter to old Hollywood, and hangout movies and alternate history and things like that, if you're in that camp and you love that sort of thing, then this is very much the movie for you. If you like a certain amount of respect for historicity and, or rather historical accuracy, and, with, I guess, some of the alternate implications of some things that take place, then, it might come apart for you. But at any rate, so we've got our replica Mad magazine here, which features Leonardo DiCaprio's character. Thank you, I cannot talk. Features his character from the Western show that he's on, Bounty Law. Just had to remind myself what that was. But yeah, it looks like it's in that authentic Mad magazine style, which, Mad magazine's glory days were definitely before my time, but, that was also, I suppose that part of what's really cool about it is, well, again, you've got, like, the ads in here, and you've got an ad for Mad Straightjacket, which that's pretty cool. They used to have really bizarre, goofy ads in the old days. Like, this was something that James Rolfe talked about in some of the old magazines that he showed off, was that you could order like a live monkey with a leash, and it's like, that's that wouldn't fly today. And yeah, so there's the poster for the movie within the movie, one of the many. Um, Operazione Dynamite, which is, the kind of, I guess, Italian action film that Rick Dalton was starring in. And it, let me see. Well, we've got our digital download code, of course. It's one of those things where, see, like, when I, just, again, to give you my perspective, I was kind of going into it expecting the Manson family to play into the plot a lot more than they actually did. And, when, when they do make like, for me, everything that was really really great about the film involved the Manson family, just because, like, I felt like that was where it had the tension that the rest of the story, I think, the rest of the story, I think, needed a lot more tension than it really had, just because it was, again, Tarantino loves hangout movies. He loves movies where you can just be with the characters and hang out with them, and the plot doesn't have to really go a mile a minute or anything, and that's okay. Like, he managed to make that work in, like, Pulp Fiction, because even when the characters were talking about nothing, they were still talking about things that were very indicative of character, and the story kept moving in spite of all the talking. It was just, the plot kept moving forward in a way that was unexpected, and I think that's part of why that movie was so lauded at the time and still today. I just felt like with this film, it kind of moved. It moved. This is just, again, I need to watch it again, but when I saw it, I was like, "Where is this going?" And I kept asking myself, like, when the tension would really kick in. It mostly seemed like a kind of very, obviously a very loving. Oh, the disc fell out. It seemed like a very loving tribute to that time period, to the late 60s, and kind of this idealized version of the last days of Golden Hollywood, which, yeah, there's our fake Rick Dalton single cover. This is an actual record that you can play if you have a record player, which I don't have, but I would like to get it just for this. And then, of course, the discs there, which is cool because they look like old film cans. But yeah, I just remembered thinking, like, this would have been really, really great if there had been more of a plot and if it had moved a little faster. Like, I don't know, but I'm sure that wasn't necessarily the point. I'm sure that the point was largely to try and recreate a kind of storybook version of this time period, which I know Tarantino is, and believe me, I love the classics and the old days as much as the next guy. I just, it's always better whenever you're able to match that with, like, a really, engaging plot or whatever, which, again, the stuff that's good in the movie is really, really good, and I don't want to take away from the enjoyment of someone that really does enjoy it. And I liked, again, it's like I felt very conflicted. I was like, the things I liked about it were really great, but they were also the things I didn't, because it's like, it was very unconventional film pacing. It was so unlike anything else that was coming out. It dared to be provocative and be different and everything, all of which I liked. It was just more of like, well, it's like I could see this rubbing people the wrong way. I could see, people like Bruce Lee fans not being happy. I could see, people that don't like alternate history, or because it wasn't really advertised that way, but it was just like I could see people not liking that, I don't know, it just, and I could understand some of the sadistic violence towards the forget which member of the Manson family it was. I mean, they're violent to all of them, but it's more so like I could see why this wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea for various reasons. And so, yeah, I was very much in the middle on it. I wasn't in one camp or the other. Usually I tend to fall into one camp or the other, but with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I just need to watch it again now that I know it's coming. Long little mini review there. But, so this is the Columbia Records single, which, again, this is an actual single that you can play if you have a vinyl record player. and it's Los Bravos Bring a Little Lovin' on side A, and Paul Revere and the Raiders' Good Thing on the other side, which, as usual with the Tarantino film, the soundtrack's killer and used well, and it conveys the period very well. It is kind of funny because I remembered I had the special edition of the, well, there's the download code. This was really wedged in here, by the way. It was hard to get out. Anyway, oh yeah, and, well, okay, in Tarantino's favor, perfect casting of Margot Robbie, who's just, probably the best actress working today, and one of the most beautiful, but also, like, people were criticizing the film that she didn't speak all that much, but again, I come from the silent film school of filmmaking, and someone not... I don't agree with the idea that someone speaking in a film automatically indicates importance of character, which is why I don't agree with the however you pronounce it, the Bike test. Someone correct me on that, but it's the test that says, if it's like if two women are speaking in a film about something other than a man, then it passes or whatever, which I get the point of it, which is that it's supposed to, help necessitate more non-male centric conversations between women in film. Okay, fine, wonderful. I don't think that, like, it should be a rule, or law, like, oh, a movie can't be made unless it passes this test, just because I know some people think that way, and I think that's really limiting of, because some movies, they don't work that way, and also just on a broader level, it's trying to quantify something that to me is not quantifiable, which is that someone having lines of dialogue in a film automatically equals an important or meaningful character. Well, again, you can debunk that in 2 seconds. The silent films, they had no dialogue at all. The best that they had was title cards. And are you telling me that, the characters in D.W. Griffith's Intolerance were not significant because they couldn't speak? Just, again, you can debunk that in 2 seconds, but point being that I thought that despite not having much in the way of dialogue, I thought she communicated a lot with her face, her body language, just kind of the mood and the charisma that she naturally exuded. She really seemed like she did her homework with Sharon Tate herself, having watched her and talked with people that knew her and wearing some of her actual jewelry and things like that. So again, like, I think that, well, and the acting from both Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt was really good as well. I just think plot-wise it could have had a little bit more going on, but again, I need to watch it again. But yeah, that particular aspect of the criticism against the film I never thought was legitimate. And, believe me, I want there to be more non-male centric conversations between female characters in films as much as the next person. It's just more so that, any time that you try to institute any kind of artificial constraints on creativity, even in the name of something good like that, that's where I get kind of bummed out about it, to put it lightly. But I also just don't think you can quantify or qualify even a significant character with how many lines of dialogue they have. You could have someone who's a complete idiot who talks the whole time and never shuts up, and are you telling me that they're more significant than someone that doesn't speak very much and yet conveys a lot of emotion with their eyes, their actions, their presence? There's a whole school of acting, a whole era of film history where they had no dialogue, and even now you can have a character that doesn't say a whole lot, but or isn't even on screen all that much, but conveys a lot of significance. So again, I just don't agree with that. But anyway, rant over. Noah, the steelbook, which was, I was legitimately shocked that I didn't have this in my collection. Well, okay, I did, have it in my collection. It was the Target exclusive one that had that wood slipcover, quote unquote wood. It was like really just thin and flimsy and just kind of pathetic. I got it when I did because I worked at Target at the time and I had my employee discount, and it was like, well, get this for cheaper. And I'm in the minority. I absolutely loved this film. I thought this was really, really ambitious. It was my second favorite. It was my second favorite now, Darren Aronofsky film behind Mother, which was also incredibly divisive and controversial and things like that. But I like, really divisive, controversial films, and I feel like, again, people freaked out because this has to do with, well, religion and everything, but I think that this went to places that most biblically based films won't go, and now granted, it did have to invent a lot because, well, if you actually read the Noah parts of Genesis, it's only like a few pages. There's really not all that much to go on to sustain a full feature film, and the things that they put in here I thought were really, really fascinating and really thought-provoking, especially with how Noah, as a character, how you get the sense that digital download code, you get the sense that he is someone that's trying to do what is right, but his conception of what is right is at the expense of he seems to believe for most of the movie that humanity is evil and needs to be eradicated, that there's no hope for humanity and it's just him and his family that are left. But by the end he realizes that humanity does have hope for change and for redemption, and obviously the further you go into the Bible story, into the whole story of the Bible, the more that it points in that direction. But anyway, yeah, when this came out, I wanted to get this steelbook, because it was really cool looking, and it was more expensive at Best Buy, and I think it sold out pretty quick, so I got this off of eBay, and it was pretty cheap, because I guess a lot of people didn't like this film, but I thought it was amazing for what it was trying to be. I would like to see more large-budgeted, ambitious, thought-provoking, films like this that are not necessarily going to please everyone. And in a way, I guess you could say that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is in that same camp. But I mean, here, like, Tarantino's had that kind of magic touch of being able to make relatively mid-budget films, and people will see them and talk about them and everything, which is not to say that people didn't see or talk about Noah. It was just wasn't on the same level. But anyway, that was kind of a more unconventional unboxing for us, kind of unboxing / review, but less it was less of a glaring problem like it was last time. But anyway, if you like these videos, please don't hesitate to comment and like and subscribe and share and hit the bell icon and all that good stuff. And if you want me to open something specific or talk about a movie or whatever, I'll do it. Just let me know. I want this to be interactive. But yeah, so hopefully that was interesting. Sorry it wasn't any horror movies this time.